What do onions have to do with language study? Well, you might say when you cut an onion, then you start crying, and sometimes when you study another language, that also makes you cry. But that's actually not what I want to talk about in this video. I would like to explore a little bit the fear of speaking. And you might say, well, I don't really have that issue, so let me just skip that video. But hold on a little bit, because very often the fear of speaking another language is not so obvious to us when we're learning it. Have you ever caught yourself saying something like, oh, I have to study more grammar before I can do this and that, or I have to make a little bit more progress with my vocabulary, I have to improve my pronunciation before I can take part in this meeting, and so on. That is actually very often fear in disguise. So you're actually scared of speaking and you're hiding it behind saying something like, my grammar is not perfect yet, my pronunciation is not perfect yet. And I know many students who have practiced for years, but still don't dare to order a cappuccino because, well, they still have to study more grammar. So just like any fear that you're not ready to face, also this one will keep growing if you don't attack it a little bit. So what to do? Of course, you go to some hobby psychologist or life coach and they will say something like, you have to step out of your comfort zone and you have to be brave and just do it. And well, of course, it's not so easy, right? I mean, if you're a very anxious person and you're just scared of heights, it doesn't help that somebody comes and says, yeah, but you can't fall down. Or if you want to kill yourself and people come and say, yeah, but look, the sun is shining. It doesn't work like that. Otherwise, psychologists would not have to go to university for a couple of years. So there is, of course, some truth in this step out of your comfort zone. But what I believe is very important is that you step out of your comfort zone just a little bit. And that's where my onion comes in again, because I believe that our fears of speaking are layered. They're not the same in every situation. Obviously, it's different to give a presentation in front of 700 people or to talk to a good friend. When it comes to speaking a foreign language, usually we have very different ideas of how scary it feels talking to a stranger, talking to a colleague, talking to a friend, talking to a teacher, or maybe talking to another student who is also learning the language with us. This can be very individual. So some people say, for example, a stranger, I don't really care, I will never see them again. So if I make the stupidest mistakes I can imagine, it doesn't bother me. But the friend, it's so awkward when I make stupid mistakes with my friends. Other people say, no, my friends I feel comfortable with, but strangers, it feels weird. Same with teachers. Some people say, oh, teachers, language teachers, they are professionals. They're used to hearing students make mistakes. And other people say, no, the teachers, their job is to judge for making mistakes. So as you can see, very individual. And I'd like to invite you to come up with your own onion. Like take a couple of minutes and think about that. What scares you the most? What are situations that scare you a lot? And what are situations that scare you less? And then gradually, what I suggest you should do is to move out in the onion from the inside to the outside. So say, for example, talking to a colleague still scares you, but another student is fine. Okay, you meet other students and you talk to them. And some language schools discourage you for speaking with other students because they say, yeah, you're going to learn their mistakes as well, which is true. But on the other hand, it can be very liberating to talk to people who make similar mistakes to you and who are also struggling with the grammar and who also have pronunciation issues and so on. So for many people, this can be actually quite helpful to overcome this fear of speaking. But don't get stuck in that. Once you feel comfortable, then move out to the next layer in the onion. So again, work your way up gradually and find out what scares you just a little bit. Now, what do you do if everything scares you? What do you do if really, whenever you open your mouth in another language than your own language, then you just freak out? Well, what you can always do is you can talk to yourself, or to your teddy bear, as I say often. You can lock yourself up at home and talk to yourself or to your teddy bear. And this will actually help you. Just like when you practice playing the piano, you don't need anybody to listen to you in order to improve. Just by practicing yourself, you will improve. And much of what we do in language learning, especially in the early stages, is quite predictable. Like the general small talk. What do you do? Where do you come from? Why are you learning this language? What are your hobbies? Who do you live with? Where do you live? And so on. All of these questions are very predictable, and you can practice them basically like almost like a theater play. You can practice them at home. So that way, once you dare to really say something to somebody else, you're a little bit prepared because you have already practiced these scripts. And maybe that feels also too scary to go from talking to no one and then talking to someone. So what you can do, thanks to our great modern technology, you can, after a while, record yourself. That feels creepy, right? But I happily allow you to delete the recording the moment you have finished it. Okay? Speak, record, delete it. When you've done it 25 times, maybe you dare to listen to the recording yourself and then delete it. And then maybe one day you dare to send the recording to a friend. Or maybe send it to a friend first and then listen to it yourself. That depends again on your personal individual onion. So these are techniques that can help you to actually break these shackles and to slowly feel a bit more at ease when you're speaking. So what are your experiences? If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to share in the comments. I would love to hear from you. What are your obstacles when you are trying to speak? What are maybe something that you haven't even been aware of, or that you just got aware of through watching this video? And I hope this is a little bit useful, because after all, we need to practice speaking in order to improve our speaking. There is no way around it. Just like you want to play the piano, it doesn't help that you just listen to piano music. You will have to sit in front of the piano and practice, even though it will not sound very nice at the beginning.